In this video, we are going to go through Chapter 3, Exercise 6. So here's the finished part file that we are going to now create. And if you go to Canvas, you'll be able to see I think I had to go back one. Here it is. Here is the drawing file, fully dimensioned, that I will be using for my answer key. So what makes this part unique is that we have a funky little transitional piece right here. That's what is new about this part. So we're going to learn a new command called the loft command. And that's really the only thing that makes this part different than things that we have done up until this point. So I'm going to do a new English standard part, and I'm going to draw that little piece over here. And as usual, there is a dozen totally valid ways of doing that. So the way I show you is just a way to have this complete. But I'm going to start by drawing a rectangle that are dimensions 4 by 6. So I'm going to do a rectangle. I'm going to hit 4, tab 6. Hit escape. I'm going to curve this corner right here by doing a fillet with a radius of 2. So I'm going to enter 2 here, line 1, line 2, boom. And now that I have done that fillet, now I have this little center of the arc right here, which I can now use as the center of this circle, which I will extrude. So I'm going to do this circle, click that center that now appeared because we did the fillet, and give that a diameter of 2. And I'll finish that sketch and extrude it out. I believe it was 6. Yeah. Extrude it out 6. Okay. Now, if you look at the overhead view, this part has a little cutout right here. So I'm going to do a new sketch, and I'm going to do this as a cut to create that gap. So I'm going to do this surface right here. Let's do it as I like this view. And I'm going to do a rectangle, and I'm just going to draw the rectangle, and then I'll do dimensions later. So since I'm cutting it, I don't really care that it's extending beyond it. That won't affect the finished geometry. But I will do dimension, and I'll say from here to here, that width is supposed to be 1.5 out off of each side, which means that this length is 3, and then 1 inch from the top right here. So that was 1.5. This length was also 1.5, which means that this one, it now has to be 3. It's locked at 3. And then this was 1. Okay. Finish that sketch. Extrude it. Nope, not that direction. Do the boolean for the other direction, and then cut if need be. And I'm going to make sure it goes through all. Cool. So now is where we are going to learn a new function feature. So if I start a new sketch, you'll find that, like, how's this gonna, what can I do next? You're kind of at a standstill. So the part has a little square of a 2 by 2 that's 6 inches away from the part that we just drew. So how does that help us? How could we draw that? I mean, if I extruded this in this larger square in that direction, that's going to be a solid trajectory. I need a piece that kind of transitions from a 6 by 6 square down to a 2 by 2 square. We actually can't draw this with the features we know up until this point. So I'm going to show you first how to draw a work plane that does not have the ability to click on the part. So I want to draw this 2 by 2 piece over here. And again, I don't have the ability to choose that plane to draw on. I can't click here, I can't click here. We've done the origin. None of these are going to give me the ability to draw a 2 by 2 square out in space. So we have to create a new work plane. That's the first new thing we are going to learn. We are going to learn how to create a new work plane when one is not available to draw on. So I'm going to go over here to plane, and the drop down of plane, there are several different ways that I could create a new work plane. I could offset this from a different plane. I can do one that's parallel, mid-plane of a torus. I don't know when we would do that in this class. But there's several different ways to create a plane, actually an axis and a point, but right now we're really going to be focusing on a plane. And the one that we're going to do now is offset from plane, because we have a plane right here, the solid surface of the back of the part. And we want to draw it completely, parallel to that, offset 6 units. So I'm going to hit offset from plane. And then I'm going to choose the plane I want to offset it by. And I'm going to choose 6. Now, if that was in the other direction, like I wanted it in the other way, you could always do like negative. But in this case, I want to do 6. And hit enter. Now I have a work plane that I can draw on, just like we've done up until this point with ones that were easily accessible. So I'm going to hit Start 2D Sketch, and I'm going to choose now this new work plane. For this work plane, all I really need is that 2x2 square that is 2 units off the edge and on the x-axis. So I'm going to draw a 2 tab 2. Let me do that actually on the x-axis. So I'll start by doing the rectangle on here and then making it 2x2. And then I'll do a dimension from the origin to that line, dimension from the origin to this line, distance of 2. And now that should be good. Another thing that I want to show you while we're here is if for some reason I wanted to project this image, the image of this larger one over here, you can do project geometry. And watch what that does. If I select this line right here, boom, it appears now on our work plane. I don't want that in this case, but there are several instances where you would. Okay, so I'm going to finish that sketch. And now I'm going to show you a new feature which will create a transition between two pieces of geometry. It's called the loft. And here's how it works. It's actually really simple. And this will create that transition right here. You're going to hit loft, and all you have to do is just hit the two surfaces that you want a transitional piece created between. So I'm going to hit 1, boom, and sometimes it's a little bit hard to pick the square. There it goes. 2, boom, and hit OK. Boom, done, easy. You can choose to either keep this visible or hide the visibility. I like to hide the visibility once I'm done with it. So that work plane that we created, it's called work plane 1. You can right click that and uncheck visibility, and we're done. File, save, and let's call this Chapter 3 Exercise 6. So now we are going to create a new drawing file. You guys should be experts at this next step. I just want to do it quickly. And again, I'm limited to 15 minutes for these videos, and with this one, I'm going to try and get it all on one. So I'm going to go a little quick right here, but you can always slow down the speed or rewatch if you get lost. Okay. Annotate next. I like to annotate. And when you do that, make sure you do the small circle and the larger arc for both of them. And then add bisectors over here. Oh. The fact that the center line looks funky is more of an issue of scaling than you doing incorrect, so it's okay to leave it like that. And then we also have center lines over here as well. Okay, now we're just going to add some dimensions. Nope, that's not the one I wanted. I meant to do from here to here. Maybe move that over. Okay, I think we're good for that one. Overall width of 10. Maybe move that over to this side. Diameter of 2 right here, radius of 2 right here. And we gotta get that height right here. Okay. That's 6. Do 1 right there. 1.5 right here. And I gotta go from here to here is 4.5. And is that everything? I know I went through it quick. Let me zoom out for a second and give you the ability to kind of pause with everything in one image. But of course, I also posted this on the Canvas module as well. And I'm just kind of talking as I go through, making sure I didn't miss anything. And I think that was everything. So once you're done with that, you can do another file save. And then file, export, PDF, and that is what you are going to upload to Canvas. And we are done.